Remember the time when you were in high school? Did you like yourself then, or do you find them cringy? What about the time when you were a kid and all the ridiculous things you used to believe in? Or let's not go too far. What about last year or the last 6 months? How much have it changed since then? A lot, right? I think most of you would agree that your current self is better than whoever those people were in the past. If you're still in high school though, well, enjoy. You'll make a lot of mistakes. Or maybe that's just me. Anyway, when you look at yourself, you might be proud of who you've become. You're doing much better than you were back then. And you don't think you'll ever cringe at yourself again in the future because now you know better, right? If that's yes, then that's what people call the end of history illusion. The end of history illusion is the belief that yourself has already matured significantly to this present moment and that you have developed the best personal taste, preferences, and core values. You believe that you'll be this version of yourself for the rest of your life. The notion that yourself will change and mature more is hard to fathom because why would you change since your current self is already good enough, right? This happens at all stages of life and affects everyone: kids, teenagers, middle-aged people, and seniors. So, it's a curse really, because no matter how old you are right now, your future self is very likely to find your current self cringy. Just like me seeing my older videos. I hate them. They're so embarrassing, but whatever. Without them, I wouldn't be here, and I guess I would keep on cringing looking back. Why does it happen? Well, Daniel Gilbert, a psychologist, said that it occurs because of our difficulty in predicting the future. Predicting is hard, and humans have tried to predict the future ever since the dawn of our civilization. When asked about the past and to predict the amount of change they'll endure, people often get it wrong at how much they'll change compared to when recalling their memory for researchers. Reporting our memory is reconstructive, while predicting is constructive. So it is harder to construct new things than to reconstruct older memories, leading people to make an inaccurate prediction of immense personal change in the future. I mean, it doesn't just happen on a personal level. Just look at what we predicted in the past. Most of them didn't really happen. They were either way too optimistic or fell short of their predictions. The fact that your brain doesn't recognize you in the future also doesn't help. When you think about yourself in the future, the part of your brain that lights up is the same as when you think about a stranger. So your brain doesn't really consider your future self to be you. Your future self is a stranger. Our satisfaction with who we are right now also plays a role. I mean, the things we do now are considered acceptable to us, right? The actions and the lifestyle that we choose are the results of the rigorous accumulation of knowledge from our earlier lives. We may have learned a lesson the hard way, from our trauma, or from events that still leave some scars in our memories. That's why they're valuable to us. And in some way, we don't want to change because to us, they're the correct way to do things, even though that's not exactly true. But of course, we're not satisfied with everything. Maybe we hate our weight, our facial structure, or the way we talk.
Broken? Man, are you serious?
And there are some parts of ourselves that we'll probably always dislike. But most of the time, we like our current selves more compared to the past. People are satisfied with who they are now. That's why we don't actively change them. Maybe it's because humans don't really notice change unless it's significant. When it's gradual and slow, it takes a long time for you to notice. For example, you don't notice the change in your voice during puberty, or how you age, or how your parents have gone older, because the progression of change is really slow. You only realize it when you look back in time at how much you've grown, how squeaky your voice was, and how young your parents looked. If you think about it, it's kind of sad. However, this is called change blindness. Anyway, Gilbert found that the discrepancy between the prediction and the reported change is not due to the error of memory, but an error in prediction. Meaning, we're just bad at predicting what will become in the future. I think we don't know ourselves well enough to have an accurate representation of who we are to extrapolate what we would be like in the future. I talk about this in my video about how we don't really know ourselves as much as we thought. And I really like that video. You can check it here. The problem with this illusion is that we think we're gonna stay the same, and we use this belief to make predictions and investments for our future. However, we're bad at predicting. Our current preferences can cloud our judgment because we don't know what we will want in the future. We don't know our future selves yet. We don't know what we'll experience. So we're very ill-informed about what we'll like in the future. Because of that, we sometimes make decisions that will jeopardize our future selves, and they might regret the decisions we make. So the thought that your interests have their own expiration date can help. You might like blogging only a few years. You might find your favorite TV show losing its sense of humor. Or your intense liking for harnessing the power of telekinesis might not even survive the scrutiny of your friends and only last a month. When I was around 10, I really hated that my older cousins were getting shy and awkward when they reached puberty, so I vowed not to be shy when I got older. Fast forward a few years, I was the most non-talkative person in my family circle, and I was more awkward than my cousins were. So even when you anticipate who you are going to be, sometimes just can't help but change. I guess I underestimated the power of teenage awkwardness and how long it took to have telekinesis. Regret usually comes to those who invest heavily in short-term interest. And it's not like we're always being our impulsive teenagers or changing drastically every 2 years. Most of the things in our life are kind of constant. Investing in health, personal growth, and other interests that seem consistent to us will benefit you in the future. We just have to be wary of making decisions reactively to rare and particular life events that won't really linger. We have to remember that we are capable of change. So thoughts like you are too introverted to have many friends, or that you will never be capable of being a responsible pet owner may change in the future. We also have to think long-term about doing things and include a lot of variables and possibilities when predicting your future that your current self might have a blind spot on. However, Gilbert's study faced criticism from some people due to its use of a cross-sectional study design instead of a longitudinal one. In a cross-sectional study, researchers compared two different groups at the same time, offering insights into a particular moment, but it doesn't track the same group of individuals over an extended period. In contrast, a longitudinal study follows the same individuals over time, providing a better perspective on the long-term effects. Critics argue that a longitudinal study would have been more effective in demonstrating the enduring nature of these effects as it observes changes within the same individuals over time. Additionally, concerns were raised about the reliability of autobiographical memory because you know how unreliable they can be. I've also created a video talking about that. You can watch it here. The term first appeared in Francis Fukuyama's book of the same name, The End of History. In this book, he talks about the rise of Western liberal democracy, which happened after the Cold War and the dissolution of the Soviet Union, as a sign that humanity has reached a point, an endpoint of mankind's ideological evolution, and the universalization of Western liberal democracy as the final form of human government. Humanity has not only reached a passing of a particular period or a post-war history, but an end of history. He draws upon this idea from Hegel and Karl Marx, who perceived human progression as linear. One of the differences, though, is that Marx thought that we'd all transition to communism, while Fukuyama, liberal democracies. Humans love stability. We want to believe that we're stable, and we don't want to change because stability can be comforting. The very existence of life depends highly on stability. Change, however, can be scary, even though also exciting. I think this belief stems from our perception that time stands still, and that things have always been this way and they have matured or reached their full potential. We believe that the waves were always crashing and will keep on crashing. The wind keeps on blowing. Borders of countries will remain the same. The compass will keep on pointing to the North Pole. We believe that the world was always this way and will stay the same. But humans don't live very long. We don't live for thousands of years to see the change. Even the first signs of civilization occurred around 10 to 12,000 years ago. The guise of the unchanging world comes down to our inability to comprehend that time is long and things can happen slowly, like really slowly. The deception of the all-static world, however, is not true. The tectonic plate is moving 3 to 5 cm per year. The climate has gone through 8 cycles of ice age and warmer periods in the last 800,000 years, and the magnetic pole is actually on the way to flipping. The sun used to be dimmer and now it is relatively stable, but will expand to kill all life on Earth. Black holes will eventually evaporate, and the universe will probably end in a big freeze or a big rip when it approaches the state of maximum entropy. Everything will lie meaninglessly and time will not mean anything. But I guess we went too far into the future. Let's go back to the cheery and joyful present time. Okay, that's much better. The end of history illusion can negatively shape your life choices, but not every decision will heavily impact you, and you don't regret every decision you made in the past anyway. Just be wary of big impulsive decisions. Don't live in fear of always wanting to please your future self. Instead, live in the moment and check off the things on your list today. When imagining your future self, reflect on your past self. Look at how much you've changed and identify the aspects of yourself that have remained consistent. Then, use that model to imagine your ideal future self, aiming to be as detailed and realistic as possible, while leaving some room for some flexibility to improve. Don't worry though, the rate of change slows down as you age, so it's very likely that you'll be satisfied with what you choose. Regardless of the stage of life you're at, you're far from being the final version of yourself. In fact, the only final version is the version when you're taking your last breath. You don't want to use that version to represent your life as a whole. You have to appreciate the kinds of people you've been, all the versions of you. They all represent the part of yourself that is unique only to that period of your life. That whimpering little boy, that awkward teenager, that overconfident college student, and the current fleeting persona that you carry, just like the ever-changing river of Heraclitus. Thank you.